thing, 2 fingers for something else, 3 fingers for something else. There's always a backup system for most of the guys.
So now behind the PPG pace car, we'll take a look at the race summary to this point in the race. Should have about 1 more lap back to the green flag. After 50 laps, Michael Andretti is the leader. The only other leader has been Tracy for a lap. Average speed down at 122. It was actually at 158 before we hit this yellow, so they were running on a record pace. But on short ovals, the yellow flags tend to determine the record.
Well, looks like they're not quite cleaned up yet, Paul. It doesn't look like they're going to come green the next time around.
Cars out of the race. Ribeiro obviously with the accident. Danny Sullivan.
We're seeing the same domination of this race as we saw in Australia 2 weeks ago. The Newman Haas team is really, they have the whip hand, it would seem, in Indy racing right now.
Adrian Fernandez, the view over the right shoulder. He runs currently in 10th place. Now here's what they're saying. 1 more lap, we'll come back to green flag racing. When they do, they're going to show a black flag to Bryan Herta because of what you saw when he nipped the hose going out of the pits. And also the indication was that there would probably be a black flag coming out to Salazar. Same violation.
Now the black flag, of course, means just a stop and go penalty. But remember, here at Phoenix, you can't stop without losing a lap and go again. It's just going to be a big penalty.
There's Bryan Herta.
Herta is third now. We'll take note of where he is when he's back running again.
Here was when he left the pits, and the reason that he'll see the black flag.
Watch the left rear. Watch the left rear. Right there. Just run over the hose right there.
Now that's a stop on a yellow flag stop. Is that a rookie, a new guy kind of thing, Bobby?
No, not really. See, he has nothing, no power over that. It was the pit guys that made the mistake. They should have never left that hose laying there.
All right, so we come back to the green flag. Michael Andretti is the leader. Robbie Gordon is not in the fight, but Paul Tracy sweeps around, picks up the lead of the race.
Remember, that's around his teammate right there.
Carl Haas has got to be just chopping right through that cigar every time these two get together like that.
He bites them cigars right too on those times.
They are both Chargers. Paul Tracy now pulls away.
Paul Tracy probably focuses more intently on a race than almost anybody I've ever seen.
Now he looks like he's running away from Michael right there. He is, but he's running in clean air. There's no dirty air in front of him. He has no cars to pass for a while.
Let's go to Jack Aruta's
Bryan Herta's car. As he came in, he tried to keep the revs up, and he almost stalled it, Paul. It was very, very disjointed on that stop-and-go penalty.
Well, when he first started to roll out, he would have been able to catch the back of the field. Now, just behind him, Paul Tracy is bearing down. He's going to struggle to stay on the lap. You see him ahead there in Paul Tracy's car. That is Herta.
The key thing, of course, is if he goes a lap down and there's another yellow flag, he's stuck a lap down. If he's on the same lap, then he's able to make up the distance and get competitive again. So what happens next here is very critical, and knowing that, Tracy will try to put Herta, a real rival, a lap down.
Now Villeneuve comes up to challenge Michael Andretti, trying to sweep around the outside. Whoa!
Villeneuve had a sensational...
No, I'm sorry. My mistake. What I thought was the blue car was in fact Gordon coming back. Forgive me.
But Villeneuve had a great restart. You see him back there just a second or so back. You'll see him off on the right of the screen. Villeneuve had a great restart and is running third right now.
And Gordon now trying to come back with some power.
There's Villeneuve right there.
There's Villeneuve. That's how close he is.
With Emerson Fittipaldi right behind him. Great Canadian and a great Brazilian running in third and fourth. Canadians, incidentally, as we watch Paul Tracy lead this race right now, have won the last 5 IndyCar races. Between Villeneuve and Tracy, they've won the last 5, and if you count Scott Goodyear's win at the Michigan 500, the last 6 of 9. So the Canadians are on a tear right now in IndyCar racing.
Robbie Gordon, by passing the leader, got back on the leader lap. So at least he is back into the action now, runs in 12th place. Now you're on the leader, Paul Tracy.
You see the tremendous disparity in speed. Tracy just ripping by one of the speed disadvantaged cars there, Paul.
I think for our type of language, we're going to have to say the slower cars occasionally.
I think so too.
Otherwise, we're going to fool everybody too much. Well, Gordon, Paul Tracy, look at the new wing that they've got on car. Watch the wings when you see a front end shot. Right there you see Paul Tracy's car. Look at the difference between the height of the nose and the ground. And look at the way the wings curve down there. That'll tell you. And you can compare that to the other cars during the race.
The view from second place, Michael Andretti. Let's get an update on Tracy, though, Gary.
With this second set of tires after the yellow, Paul is reporting to the crew that they've picked up an understeer problem, so he's pushing a bit. We'll see if that magnifies it all now as he continues to try to protect that lead, Paul.
Just to make it clear what Gary means by pushing, it means you have to turn the wheel more than you really want to. The front end of the car is not biting well. The front of it is sliding out toward the wall.
0.4 of a second back. You ride with second place, Michael Andretti. Now there's 0.4 looking back from Paul Tracy to Michael Andretti, the Newman Haas team in front.
Pushing is a stable condition. You're very unlikely to lose control of the car when it's pushing, but it's slow, and it heats the tires up.
Sometimes you hit the wall with the front end first when you do that, Sam.
Yeah, not a pleasant experience.
Once again, Tracy's going to get into some traffic now. This is where Michael tends to excel. Let's see if he excels in one. Oh, so close.
Now, a pass like that really started happening clear back in turn 4. We didn't see all of that right there, but it starts happening way back there, and Michael getting a run at it. And, of course, the drivers are sitting there planning their passes with things like that.
Remember that Tracy all but had this race won the last 2 years. Last year he got into a bit of bad luck and was involved in a crash. And 2 years ago he was leading the race and made an error. So he feels that he's got a Phoenix coming to him sooner or later, and it might be today.
Well, look how fast they cruise past the other cars out from under the Goodyear bridge.
Michael's car, you can see, is much more neutral in its handling, and he's able to use different lines around the racetrack.
Speed on the last lap. Michael definitely closing.
But you know, there's not really an issue at this early in the race. The race is still kind of new. There's no sense in the guys beating their heads against the wall or against each other too hard, because as long as you're running up close to the front, first or second, third place, really not too bad.
Right, especially in view of the fact that the two leaders are teammates and are pulling away, Bobby, from third place.
Except teammates won't make any difference to those two. They're both very stubborn young men. It might make a difference to Carl Haas that owns that team, but it won't to these guys.
Michael tries the inside again. Still not enough. Comes high off the corner and loses.
Well, you can watch just as Tracy.
Maybe he doesn't.
Across.
There it is.
Look at that.
Yeah. But so what happened is you could watch the air get bad to Michael's front wings as he was behind there, and the car washed right across. But what he did is he hooked the car, came across to the left, and did a pass right where Paul Tracy didn't think he would do.
I'll tell you what, that was a handy piece of driving. Now Michael Andretti takes the lead from teammate Tracy.
Yeah, he used some momentum, and of course now that he's ahead, it's even tougher for Paul Tracy, because it's if he's got a pushing condition, it's made even worse when you're following another car.
What do you used to call those kind of things, Bobby? An almost crash?
Yeah, an almost crash. That's right. There's a whole bunch of those happening here at Phoenix.
And a good fight here is Fittipaldi trying to take third place away from Villeneuve.
Fittipaldi, of course, qualified on the outside of the front row. The first real display of speed by the Penske team so far this year.
And look at the back of this group. Here comes Scott Pruitt, now running in 5th place.
Well, the idea is that those Firestone tires do not seem to heat up quite as much as the Goodyears. They're a little more consistent. So you expect Scott Pruitt to move up the longer the green flag flies.
Sam, that's not really a product of heating up. I have to disagree with you just a little bit. The Firestones have been running just a little bit harder than the others. It's all the rubber on how stable it could be, and Firestone's really done their homework pretty good, Sam.
Okay, got it.
You accept it. This is great. Bobby and Sam are agreeing, as we're going to take a few minutes out here on the 75th lap with Michael Andretti, the leader, and Paul Tracy running in 2nd place. We'll be back. Back at Phoenix International Raceway, the Phoenix 200 presented by Pyroil. Moments we had a really tight battle right at the front of the field. It's still fairly tight, 1 through 5. Michael Andretti is leading it. Emerson Fittipaldi's into 2nd place around Paul Tracy, followed by Villeneuve and then Scott Pruitt. Let's get a couple of pit updates, beginning with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, Emerson Emerson Fittipaldi is on the hunt. He radioed into his crew about 10 laps ago. Should I go from 5th to 6th? They said 10-4. He did, and you see the end result. In the meantime, Team Green has been talking lap after lap to Jacques Villeneuve, giving him the separation between himself and the leaders. They say that's a motivating factor for Villeneuve when he's in the car, especially when they see that separation go down in terms of numbers. Now, one driver that's no longer in this event is standing by with Gary Gerould.
That driver is Danny Sullivan, and he's been watching a monitor, wishing that he was out there. What put you out, Danny?
Well, the handling wasn't great, but we had that all weekend. But eventually I had a brake problem where the brake pedal was going all the way to the floor going into one. Because I wasn't handling good, I was having to brake more for some of the faster cars. And it just got to be a dangerous situation where I couldn't stop for anything, an incident or anything. So I had to come in and park it.
Good to see you back on the circuit full time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, boy, did you see Jack as he handled a split there, came up behind Teo Fabi. We've been watching Emerson Fittipaldi running currently in second, trying to catch Michael, while at the same time Tracy's been trying to catch Fittipaldi.
It's just like you switched or threw a switch on Fittipaldi. He's just been absolutely flying. I mean, really moving. So something, he must have got a burr under his saddle, Paul.
Well, as he asked, can he start using sixth gear?
Well, sixth gear, just so everybody knows, sixth gear is a higher gear than fifth. It's normally higher. It's to get better fuel mileage. Maybe their engine, for example, just working a little bit better at lower RPM.
Let me write this down. Sixth is higher than fifth. Got it.
Well, but you see, these gears, you got to remember, you can put ratios any place. You could have sixth in first or first in sixth. And so normally speaking, sixth comes after five, and the way the shift pattern works is usually higher.
And of course, they could have put in a 6-speed gearbox a reverse and then have a 5-speed.
That's right.
Enough of that.
We talked about how much that penalty would hurt Bryan Herta. He is now back just to report in 12th position. More than a lap back. That's painful. The smallest error by Bryan Herta has been.
Black flag really hurts you at a place like this. These cars only taking 20 seconds to go around a lap.
Here's
really
the fight for the lead as Fittipaldi tries to get inside. Can't do it. But look at that, using traffic. Michael Andretti now onto the back straight. Fittipaldi falls back just a bit. By the way, Arie Luyendyk driving his first race of the year here out of the race. Mechanical problems.
This is the first time this year that the Penske cars have shown superior speed. I mean, Michael Andretti right now is on the defensive, and Emerson Fittipaldi on the attack in a Penske.
Fittipaldi actually in the last 5 laps closed at about 0.7 of a second a lap.
This is
coming to this position in direct contact with the leader, Michael Andretti.
I was down just before the race started talking with Little Al, and I asked him how the cars were handling, because if we remember right, this morning they were very slow, or at least slow by our judgment, in practice. And Little Al told me, he said, Uncle Bobby, the cars are literally perfect. He said, they're handling just the way we want them to. And our practice this morning, we ran very old tires, just so we could try and see what it would be like now, later in the race.
The front view from Bobby Rahal. They just came around in that battle for first place. A little debris on his antenna there.
That's the radio antenna there, and he got a little bit of paper from the grandstands on it.
Rahal is back in 14th. Herta is ahead of him on the road in 13th. Talked to Rahal yesterday. He seemed so confident. He did well all through practice. Then his troubles began in qualifying, and now in the race he has not been able to make a move at all. Remember, he has more points than anyone coming into this race.
Boy, take a look as once again Fittipaldi swings around slower traffic, in this case Herta, trying to stay in contact. And look, he gets pinched up there, trying to stay in contact with Michael Andretti.
That's Stefan Johansson he's trying to get around right there in the backup car. The one that Johansson rescued his race car, of course, and that's the backup car he's in.
A certifiable wreck, a mighty crash coming on before. Tires and pieces everywhere. That was in this morning's warm-up. They moved to the backup car. Good piece of work by Tony Bettenhausen's crew, having that backup car in condition to go racing. Of course, most of the teams now, what they do is the minute a change happens on the primary car, Bobby, they make it also on the backup car so they could interchange them quickly. We watch this fight for fourth. Pruitt, Villeneuve.